Welcome to episode 32 of season 5 of Whole Lot of Wolves. I'm Joshua Buckley with co-host Paul LePage.
Greetings.
In Baltimore, on the socials, Mr. Danny Paletti.
Good evening.
And back in South Florida, back on Whole Lot of Wolves, it's everybody's favorite American tourist in Wolverhampton now, I'm sure, Mr. Chris Fischer. How's it going, Chris?
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Finally sober?
Yeah. So we're going to get into your trip on Wolves USA Day because we're very interested. And I know Danny and I were getting texts from you at like 4 a.m. Wolverhampton time. So got to hear about that and why Kristen Copey probably has a restraining order against you. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. But first, guys, we won a midweek game. Holy cow. Wolves 1, West Ham 0. And as Danny Paletti said weeks ago with so much certainty, Wolves absolutely safe. Nothing to worry about. Paul,
you're still taking words out of my mouth, but go ahead.
I'm paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing. Whatever. Paul, what'd you think?
Unexpected in a certain respect. It had such a 1-1 draw written all over it that we'd be fairly defensive, and you got those vibes to begin with the team announced, and it was the same starting lineup. There, obviously, there's pros to that, but even that worked into our favor when we come on to some of the dynamics, particularly in the second half. But it really turned around from that. Let's just grind out results. It'll be a little like that 1-1 draw against Everton a few weeks ago. That's just one more point towards safety. That'd be fine. Probably most of people would have took that. But it turned out more, especially in the first half, like that performance against Villa, where we looked far superior, better team and everything. So to have that come together, to really have like an unexpected win, I wasn't predicting 3 points. It's such a boost. It's so close to where we really need to be. It lifts the pressure off going into the upcoming weekend. When you wrap all that, put a bow on it, it's just supremely job well done.
Yeah, Chris, and they really dominated the match from the get-go. And I thought first 45 minutes, they kind of got away with one early on that West Ham should have scored on. However, realistically, they could have been up 2-3-1, right?
I swear to you, somebody needs to diagnose Manetzi with a Benadryl or something very strong volume, because this guy, he's allergic to the net. He had multiple opportunities, rung the crossbar, second half, then had another wonderful opportunity. He's allergic to it. And I don't know if he's double clutching or what, or overthinking it. But yes, Wolves had this game in hand in the first half, especially. Second half, maybe not so much. Souček, you saw an opportunity to equalize. West Ham had multiple opportunities to equalize. But I feel like we're fortunate at times to get away with 3 points, but it was definitely earned, 100%.
I looked it up, Danny, after you had said that, and I think the official name is dendoncheritis. I think that's what it's called. I'm here all week, folks. Danny, you've called it. They're safe.
I will reiterate that I have never said that they were safe until they are mathematically safe, which would probably happen in a few weeks if things keep going the way they are. But I stand by my original assessment that Wolves had become at that time uncatchable, and we have continued to increase our uncatchability. I know that I'm splitting hairs here, but the point is that it's really difficult to imagine a team like Leicester or Ipswich catching Wolves, who are occasionally putting up 3 points on the board like they did tonight. I guess a good thought experiment is to look at the table and think, do you think that Wolves could catch Brentford, who are currently, I think, in 11th? Because they have as many points more than Wolves as Wolves have more than Ipswich or Leicester. So if you think that it's super unlikely that we catch Brentford, then it is also quite unlikely that Ipswich catch Wolves at this point.
I mean, what I'm hearing is that Danny thinks we're going to finish in 11th. We're going to catch Brentford. Boy, he's just going out on a limb. Your math skills are awesome. Going. So, Paul, let's talk about the match and specific events. Strand Larson, he's on a little bit of a roll here. Had a nice shot, took a big deflection, but you know what? It seems like after Bowley told him shoot more, he's been shooting more.
It does show that he's got that added level of confidence at the moment. So if that falls to him in that position, in and around the box, he's going to take the chance, which he did. So fortunate with the defection, but you got to be in and around there to make it happen in the first place, which I think's when he's the focal point, when you're expecting goals from him, it's great when the opportunity does arrive because he shows that he can finish. And you can question it as much as you like, but 10 goals in your first season in the Premier League, it's some going that you pay a fair old few dollars to get that type of return. And I think it's only going to get better. We were asking for players to step up in Cunha's absence, and what better way to do it than step up, play well, score goals, and make it so that Cunha's absence isn't as severe as it could have been.
Chris, do you think the team plays more to Strand Larson's strengths when Cunha is not in the starting 11?
I think that's absolutely 100% accurate. I think they start to orient things a little bit more. And, I've been telling you guys since seeing him 2 out of 3 games here in the preseason when they did the American run that I didn't know if his first touch is quite there. But I also believe that, the opportunities that they provide him weren't quality. And, our boy Stu over in Wolverhampton, when I had the chance to go over there recently, we got in a long conversation about this. They're not feeding him enough. Now, with Matheus Cunha being out, it's opened up his game because they're feeding him the ball more. It's getting him better opportunities. And yes, there has been more responsibility placed upon him. And I think that's how you have to work as a number 9. When we talked to him earlier in the preseason, he looked forward to the opportunity to be the responsible person up top. And now I feel like he's entrusted upon it because Cunha's not dominating the ball, not being entrusted to take the shots because he's not on the pitch. So Strand Larson's now starting to gain that responsibility, taking it on. I think the talk with Bully this week, Josh, as you alluded to, that's a wonderful situation. You have a living legend walking in your midst and who's going to tell you, son, just shoot the damn ball. And that's what he did.
That's probably exactly what he said,
That's what it's got to happen. May have been a Chardonnay or two, and that's fine before he got there. But God love Bully. But I'm going to tell you, that's a wonderful, wonderful situation when you have a confidence in your number 9 to go up, attack the ball. That's what we got today. We've been seeing it recently. And it just builds confidence in a young player, especially in a new league.
A lot of what Chris says there talks to the structure of the team. Now, all of a sudden, it's showing that you've got a real spine. If Strand Larsson's taking up these positions, scoring, he's the prominent number 9 centre forward, backed by 2 fantastic midfielders, backed by 2 amazing centre backs in the back 3, potentially 3 when Mosquera gets back. All of a sudden, you've got the pieces together down the centre of the field that you can start adding bits to, and all of a sudden you got a really tasty team if it's put together and backed in the right way.
Danny, let's talk about the refereeing today because despite what the broadcasters were saying that, it was good refereeing because, he was letting them play some. I thought for sure somebody was getting a double yellow. I mean, it was getting chippy and ugly out there, and mostly because stuff would happen and they would wait 30 seconds before the whistle's being blown.
It was such an odd one. It wasn't like, I don't know. I guess we've had a few of these this season where it wasn't strictly unfair, tilted in some way. It just felt so just weird. Like a lot. It was like every decision was like, what's the most daft possible choice to make in this moment? So it felt like we went through periods where kind of everything was a foul. And then someone would get a yellow kind of out of nowhere for almost nothing. And then we go through whole periods where he's letting things go. And it kind of, none of it made any sense. And it really didn't help because I think we all sort of called it before the game, not just us, but I think a lot of commentators thought this was going to be a somewhat ugly game. It clearly was. And the referee didn't really do anything to make it any less ugly. In fact, he probably contributed a good amount. So it ended up being, I mean, it was already going to be a bit of a slugfest, and it just ended up being very stop-start for portions of it too. It was just, I don't know. It was, it left a lot to be desired.
Paul, I thought what was interesting with the refereeing going on as it was, Vitor is very aware of all the situational stuff going on. Andre, if everything's going well, he should be in there 90 minutes, just with the way he is defensively when you're trying to hold a lead. But he saw it getting chippy. Andre already had a yellow. And instead of waiting too long, he went ahead and made a shift there. And that to me says a lot about him as a manager. Like he's just constantly reading the situation properly.
I agree. I think that talks to what seems to be his philosophy as well, that he's allowing the players to make their own decisions on the pitch. He's not caught up looking at an iPad and trying to have these perfect concoctions of plays rolled out. So when it comes to stuff like that, he can be more reactive because he's in tune what's going on, because he's allowed himself not to obsess over the minute details. So I think that's a distinct plus, and I'm probably continuing on the anti-O'Neill vein here, but even the more proactivity in general subs, never mind one to avoid the risk of a potential sending off, at least he's got the foresight to see how a game's panning out, and tonight was a perfect example. In the second half, they made changes. It changed the scope of the game after half time, and we had to react to it, and he did, and he shored us up, and we were harder to break down. And the likes of Manetsu, we can give him pelters for his sitters, but the amount of work him, Bellegarde put in just because we were under pressure was really testament to the team that he's created, because now we're tough to beat. We can't be bullied off the ball. We're bigger, we're tougher. Even Bellegarde, smaller, he'll pick up the fouls because he's better at controlling the ball and retaining possession, and he'll draw stuff like that. So I think Vitor's ability to really bring that all together, play for the immediate situation, has really, it's taken us leaps and bounds from a genuine threat of relegation to being comfortably safe and now hard to beat for the teams that are way above us. So phenomenal job.
Yeah, this kind of is starting to feel like the Wolves we love, the scrappy underdogs, the ones that can win the games they should, which I do feel like still this was a game they should win. You're at home, you're against another team that's down in the table. Knowing a win can really almost make you safe. It's starting to feel like Wolves again, which is exciting. And I know you said this, Chris, when they showed the video during the match, when Vitor Pereira on the sidelines just starts going nuts to get the crowd up and everything, and you could just hear the stadium roar. Like, that's exciting to see your manager that excited.
And I'll go a step further, Josh. You're absolutely correct. The fact is, when you see the backroom staff jump up off the bench and have that vigor, that vitality, just screaming, jumping, go back and just roll that same clip minutes before Vitor jumped off the bench. You will see his backroom staff running out, trying to fire up the crowd, getting everybody going. That's what it's about. This man wants to be here. There's a passion in it. It's top level football. He wants to be amongst it. He not just doesn't want to be amongst it. Now he wants to be great. He has an opportunity not just to galvanize his players like he has, because you saw the embrace between him and Andre at the end of the game, but it's bringing the crowd into it. And I think about this a lot, I don't care if you're a college basketball fan that you see nowadays, or college football, or even the NFL, or whatever American sports. You see them leave immediately after a loss in a playoff game, right? If I'm a team owner and if I'm Fosun, if I'm Jeff Shee, or I don't care, name them out there, your number one job as a manager is to win. Second job is to galvanize the city and the fan base. Then third, figure out a way to make it with the players. I understand it should be the players second, but the reason you want to win is so it galvanizes the players, which ultimately bleeds into the pockets. And no offense, that's what Fosun wants. They want that money dynamic as a financial institution. And what you're seeing right now is a beautiful melding of a manager wanting to be in his location, bringing together the players and galvanizing the fan base, which ultimately means bigger profits for Fosun. So if they can't be happy, I don't know who's happy. The fan base is certainly happy because he's done one hell of a job. I'm sorry, Gary O'Neill absolutely was a failure. And it's Vitor Pereira it's early, but could be our second coming of Nuno. How amazing would that be? I saw a tweet today that said, I never want to hear about a Wolves manager never being a non-Portuguese manager. Well, you have to throw Bruno Lage in there too. So you have to equate.
Hey, he's still undefeated without a number 9. Or
right.
with a number 9. Yeah. Right.
So, maybe it is. You know what? Wolverhampton, Portugal, it's a beautiful marriage right now. And if Uncle Georgie keeps bringing it like that, then you can't be mad.
But should we worry, Danny, that we're still in the honeymoon phase with Pereira? Because it does feel like maybe we didn't reach this level of excitement with Lopetegui and Lage, but it was pretty high up there. And I feel like with Gary O'Neill, the Man City game was obviously the peak. So should we hold our horses a little bit?
I think that there's a lot of reasons to be excited right now. It's funny. I tend to think I still think of Vitor Pereira as a bit of an underwhelming signing, kind of the way that a lot of us felt it's better than what we have, which is that we can't, buy a draw at the end of Gary O'Neill's time. And so when it was Vitor Pereira, I don't think anybody was saying, oh no, I'd rather keep Gary O'Neill, but it was more I don't think anybody was out there saying that we were definitely going to stay up with him. And I think he's way surpassed those expectations. And when you look at the run that Wolves have been on really since he came in, our win rate is up there with teams that we don't think of ourselves as being anywhere near in the table for good reason. So, but and I think that there's also lots of reasons to be skeptical. I think without Matheus Cunha, we're going to talk about him later, but I think that there's still questions out there about, do we really have a coherent, attacking sensibility? I'm not really sure. I think a lot of things are going to have to change next season, but we also know that there are several players who are probably going to be on their way out, not just Matheus Cunha. And so there will be a reshaping. And I think the final question is, where do we actually end this season? It's going to be a big test for him to keep the motivation going once Wolves are mathematically safe, which, as we've gone over before, they are not. And as we become further out of sight of Ipswich or Leicester, even if we're not mathematically safe, what can he achieve in just that time? Because we saw under Lopetegui how there could be a massive fall off. We had a couple of really bad results under him leading into that summer. He couldn't seem to motivate, the players once we had achieved safety. And I hope that he can show that he can build something that isn't just, keeping us solid, which has been an amazing job. Like Paul said, I think if you're just talking about, has he made us more solid, A+ job. But if we end up on, I don't know, if we end up still in a place where we would worry about a promoted team overtaking us next season, then I think it's right to pump the brakes a little bit on the love in. But for now, I mean, just as Chris said, if you can't celebrate, a win that takes you a little bit closer to staying up, then I don't really know what he'd be in this job for if not for that.
Paul, Vitor's at the pub. He's raising his glass to the man of the match. Who is it?
Today's man of the match, for me, it's got to be João Gomez. Even though Strand Larsen was the match winner, he was just in and around it so much, and I think the heat map's going to be off the charts when we see that tomorrow from the blades of grass that he covered. And I think, that goes to a little what we say about this team that's being formed, that today's performance from him was such a heartbeat performance, central of the team. A lot went through him. We're going to come on to this topic again in a little while, but having that dynamism as a player, if he can start contributing one or two more goals as a genuine number 8, boy, his value is going to continue to skyrocket. So I'm going for João Gomez.
Let's stop talking about his value and just say he's with us. Free João Gomez. Free João Gomez. All right. I think we waited on it. I think this is what the people have come to listen to, Chris, and it is about your USA Day experience. So, I don't really, I mean, we could just probably just go ahead and start. What did you really enjoy? What was it like?
I'm going to say something that, like, maybe if you go on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, so many people want to give bullshit to, and I'm just going to call it that right out, to people of Wolverhampton and the city of Wolverhampton. I'm going to tell you right now, those people are lovely, okay? It almost felt like a red carpet welcome. And remember, we came over with the Irish Wolves as well. So there were many different aspects of this. But this took a lot of planning. You have to give Joe at Michigan Wolves a lot of credit. I mean, a ton
Absolutely.
of credit. Copy, a lot of credit with New York Wolves. Kristen Copy, for me spilling so many beers and coffees on her the entire weekend. Which we do have a lovely gift package that we'll be sending to the Copy family in order to offset their dry cleaning costs. But there was a lot going on there. And then obviously the club themselves. I want to show you guys a couple of things, not to brag, but more just to say how fantastic they were to us. So my young son, and I brought this specifically, even though my lady is a Tottenham fan, they suck, but whatever. They gave us onesies for the kids because I brought them over a couple of shirts from Josh, the bar that we locally went to when Wolves were touring. They made their shirts specifically black and gold for the Wolves. So I brought them over a couple. And so the Wolves provided me with that and some lovely gear. And then, Dave Hunt, who is the in-game play-by-play PA announcer at Molineux, gave me this. Now,
Whoa.
I want to shoot this out to Dave.
And by the way, for those that are listening, it's the Doritos kit.
Okay, it comes from 2003. Now, Dave, I'm wearing this only once, and it's on this podcast because the last time Dave wore this was against Sheffield United when Wolves were first promoted to the Premier League. That's the last time he wore it. He knew it was in great hands. It has the number 8, hello, João Gomez nowadays, on the back of it. But this will be retired, and I will be putting this behind some glass very soon. And then just to cap off the night, we met the one and the only vice president, Mr. Robert Plant. To say that the red carpet was not rolled out for us it was amazing atmosphere in Molineux for the first time to go there. But just the way the club treats, their fans, the way that they care, the way that the USA Wolves, a collective group that went over, is about 35 of us, the way that we put this together, it was so first class, and we can't thank Wolves and the club enough. And the Irish, the way that they can drink, my God, my liver is hurting still. So
my liver was hurting just getting the play-by-play from you.
I have a top 5 with an honorable mention of.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay, here we go. So let's start off with my top 5 beers. Now I'm going to call them beers, but technically they're cask ales because Mr. David Copy with New York Wolves gave me a wonderful introduction to a lot of them. So we're going to start at number 5. Doom Bar Amber Ale. Very delicious. Tim Taylor's Landlord, which is basically all over the UK, I come to notice. But these 3 are special.
Wait, as in Tim the Tool Man Taylor?
No, not specifically. I will be, as an Al Borland on this mission here, I will be putting these up on my Twitter handle so that people can see the taps, know what they're looking at next time they have an opportunity to go over so they can sample these because I think they'll really enjoy them. Next will be the Holden's Black Country Special coming in at number 2. That's a number 2. And then Batham's. Anything you can grab from Batham's is a number 1 in my mind. Found it at Great Western. That was an amazing, amazing pub. I have to go with Lichgate as my number 1 overall amazing pub. Pre-match, that's where we ran into Stu. Had a lovely time with Emma out of LA. She's got the best jacket you've ever seen.
Yes, she does.
On Twitter. It's awesome. And boy, the ideas she got from the Wolves Hall of Fame to make new gear, you're going to love that when that comes out. But also, I just, Todd Newton, Dave Hunt, the Wolves in general, they did an amazing job. Can't really say enough. It was a wonderful, wonderful trip. Oh, can I throw in 2 more things quick, boys, while we're on here? Now, I know people at home can't see if they're on the podcast. We're going to start off with this because Daddy Fischer's got some deep pockets. And when I mean deep pockets, I mean in his coat, not in his wallet. So this is Beavertown Brewery, okay? This wonderful.
There are no beavers on the glass.
No beavers, just skulls and crossbones. And you know what's unique about this? This is Robert Plant's son, or as they call him, Planty, his son's brewery. Beautiful glass. And then this is my favorite. This is the pure Black Country Holden's glass that came.
Now you stole this, correct? Because I know they didn't just give that to you.
I tried to buy it. Didn't exactly work out. Some people got to go to the bathroom. Pure Black Country Holden's glass. It is now very prominently shown on my desk here at home. I will make sure to reincorporate both pubs, one known as the World's End, by the way, when I get back, and bring them some gear. Am I watching the Beer Time with Chris, the Drinker Fisher?
Yeah.
Wow, Todd, come on now.
Paul, what do you think of Chris's top 5 beer choices?
The Holden's one's superb because that is truly like local. That's as minutely related to the areas you could possibly get. So I can stumble there from my parents' house. So it's fantastic.
Chris, what did you have to eat that would probably give me chills?
David Copy put me on this steak and kidney pie, and I just had no desire to do that. But I ventured into it at a place called the Castle in London for the night before on Saturday, and that was pretty delicious, believe it or not. So, the kidney pie is pretty delicious.
I have eaten chicken hearts at Brazilian steakhouses, so you think similar texture?
Wouldn't venture into the chicken heart, but then again, going off Todd's comment, I'm not exactly chicken heart about a lot, so we'll go from there.
What was your favorite chant to do or your favorite song to sing in Molineux?
Jeff Sheast. Yeah.
I'm surprised that red carpet didn't get ripped out from under you.
Yeah, I know. You know what? It only went around once, but that was quite enjoyable just because you knew he was in attendance. We had a great for a team, for a club that's literally looking at relegation still at the point when we were there. We were 6 points below where we are currently in the table. So, but for the Jeff Shee chant to come out, that was fun, because in American sports, you don't see that too often. And I absolutely loved every second of that.
Now, we see online sometimes that people aren't thrilled about Americans coming over, whether it's Wolverhampton fans or other English soccer fans. Not thrilled about Americans, and they're really a curmudgeon bunch online. How was it different meeting the fans in Wolverhampton?
They were amazing. Like, I really have no complaints at all. The top of the line, class, Manny Singh, going there for Samosa Saturday. Just absolute class what he's doing with Dementia UK. Everybody else, I mean, they were right there. They were right at the top. No problems at all. I went for a run early in the morning because I wanted to see Molineux. And I'm wearing shorts and I jog over to the stadium, and everybody's kind of snickering as I ran by because it was a little chilly that morning. But it's probably the bleach white legs, but they should be used to that. I mean, I live in Florida, for Christ's sake. They can't be that different. So, but no, everybody had a wonderful response to us coming over. Worldwide Wolves Club, awesome response inside there. Looking at the way that Michigan Wolves and New York Wolves and all the different, and the way they speak about Houston Wolves and what's going on with the youth programs there, they're really behind the mission here in the United States and how they're trying to drive the game and build the game this way. And you have to be behind that, because I don't think we're too far off. It's more about, from my understanding, and I'm not breaking news on any of this, but they had to get security before they could figure out how they were going to do the summer tour. And they really had a desire to come back to the States for the summer tour, but the security wasn't there in the table. So now I think they can start to build off the promotional aspect of what they're going to do next summer. I'd be stunned if they didn't come back to the States within the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay. So not this summer, but maybe the next summer?
That's the gut feeling I got. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay, so the guys have told me that they think if I wear the cowboy hat to Molineux, it'll get stolen. What are your thoughts?
Maybe not stolen, but it might get ripped off your head and trampled on. I mean, you are kind of 0 for 2 when it comes to captains wearing the hat, right? So, they know you. I mean, you definitely have a name over there. I don't know if it's a good name, but it's definitely a name. Just like Todd talks about my liver, it probably has its own name right now. But yes, I think you'd be fine, Josh. I just might refrain from the cowboy hat, so you have to be there.
Well, I haven't been saying it because I wanted USA Day to get done. I wanted you guys to get all the attention. But, guys, I am coming to Wolverhampton. I will be there for the Leicester City match.
Yes.
I will be there the night before, Friday night, staying at the Novotel with my lovely wife, and then bringing my dad and his wife to the stadium on Saturday. So looking forward to it. Everybody, I'll be in town that Friday night before the Leicester match. So I know I've already talked to Stu. I'd love to meet any fans of the podcast there. That'd be a blast. So I'm looking forward to it. Chris, I'll probably go to you for some more questions as it gets closer to time.
Love it. Love it.
Well,
Great Western's a must. Great Western is a must, my friend.
Well, I have to wear the cowboy hat in the Great Western?
Always. That makes
no, wait. I thought this was a Western book.
Yeah. Stay out of spoons. Go ahead.
I feel like you can say that about South Florida as well. Stay out of spoons. All right. Well, between today and when I'm going out there, we have a match against Ipswich on Saturday. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. And boy, the last time we played Ipswich, we didn't have a manager the next day, and things were looking bleak. Now we really have a chance to, as Danny predicted weeks ago, for sure claim that we are not being relegated. Paul, what do you think about the match?
I'm kind of scared that I'm supremely confident. I hate saying it. It's not been anything to really even dangle the possibility of this season, but it just feels like we're that close. It feels like it could be a final nail to put in the likes of Ipswich's coffin, and I still like us away from home. That the pressure's off somewhat. They've really got to come at us. I think we've got the skill, the quality of player within the team, that experience to factor all that in and be a really dangerous team on the counter attack come Saturday, and that's going to show in the scoreline.
Danny, are you concerned about this match at all?
Not particularly. I think that's partly because I just think that as long as we don't lose, then it's pretty much job done. And honestly, given the math, I think even a loss would not be catastrophic. It would feel terrible. And I think the bigger problem would be that it would really give Ipswich something to fight for. But I think that my confidence mostly comes from the fact that we really don't need to go there and win. I think if we go there and don't lose, then, like I said, it's pretty much job done. Although I will poke a little bit of a hole in all this confidence, just in case anybody had not seen. Shortly after the match, Liam Keane tweeted out that both the head coach Vitor Pereira and assistant manager Luis Miguel will serve a one-match touchline suspension after their yellow cards today. So I actually don't know who's going to be in the dugout. But yeah, maybe. Is he still around? It has a lot of tea to finish drinking. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all the various names of the different backroom staff. I don't even know if Luis Miguel is like the assistant manager or if he's a assistant manager. So yeah, we're gonna have someone down there. But yeah,
Tom King. That's who I say.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. Maybe that's Tom King's next calling. Yeah, no, I think that it's not. It's going to be an uncomfortable watch regardless, just because of the season that we've had. But in terms of the actual game itself, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot to be worried about given the recent form of both teams.
Well, let's look at the prediction standings here. Southampton, we all picked the Wolves win. None of us got the score right, but we all got a point. And then before the match today, I asked for everybody's predictions. They were Paul and Danny saying for a 1-1 draw, so 0 points for you. And then Alex had a 1-0 Wolves win, so he gets 3 points. I had 2-1 Wolves, so I get a point. So, looking at the standings, Danny, you've got 30 points. Looking to hold on to the lead. Alex has 22. He could get there. And then, Paul, I'm breezing past you. I've got 18 now to your 16. Are you nervous that it's going to be 3 straight years at the bottom of the table?
I got a good feeling it's going to be a good run-in for me and my predictions starting on Saturday.
Unless I pick exactly what you do every time.
You won't be picking this week, so don't worry about that. Trust me.
All right, Chris, what's your prediction for this match?
I like a 2-1 Wolves win. Going on the road, a lot of confidence. I think Vitor has got these guys, while, at times the bench looks thin, there's a little bit more to be desired as far as the attack, but I ultimately, and well, after today, I think on the defensive side as well, there's a little bit more to be desired. But ultimately, they know Ipswich going to come with their back against the wall, and they have to have this. But I think the cream will rise to the top, as Paul just suggested. And I will ultimately go with a 2-1 Wolves 3 points victory coming up here.
All right, Danny?
I want to say that it's going to be almost a repeat of a very ugly night that we just had. So I'm going to say a 1-0 Wolves win.
1-0 Wolves win. Okay. Paul?
Ipswich Town 1. Wolverhampton Wanderers 4.
Whoa!
Get in.
I love it. I love
As
it.
the Brits would say, I'm playing for snookers in this prediction league, so something magical could happen.
And what is snookers?
Snooker. Yeah, like a more formal game of pool or billiards.
Okay.
Bigger table, but a lot more strategic.
Oh, snookers. Well, I'm not going to say as crazy as 4-1. I'm going to say 2-0 Wolves, because they do seem like those last 15 minutes, they're definitely been playing some dark arts afterwards. Todd from Minnesota says 1-1. Stop being a Debbie Downer, Todd. Jeez. Well, one guy that will not be in the lineup is Matheus Cunha, because his ban was extended to 4 games. And boy, Danny, there was more off the pitch drama with Cunha. Why don't you do a little recap of that?
Yeah, I guess, he went away on his international duty, and I suppose what happened is while he was there, he gave an interview to a Brazilian journalist, is my understanding, and they printed it in The Guardian. And I don't know, it's so weird. I'm sort of recapping almost like an internet reaction to a thing, but it's interesting to see that, the quotes that come out at first are sort of in line with like, I'm looking at the end of my time with Wolves, I want to make the next step, etc. And I think people naturally reacted, a little bit grumpy because we're not safe yet and whatever. I guess the real meat of this came when Cunha himself picked up on some of the reactions, including some of the quotes that got pulled out, and posted on his Instagram with some of the quotes from the full article, which of course reiterate his love for Wolverhampton, and we all need to have that affection, and Wolves gave me that joy back. The fans have given me a lot. The status I have today, the player I am now, and the happiness I'm feeling, it's because of them. I'm really grateful to Wolves. However, the following quote is also from that. I had a lot of offers in January, but I wouldn't feel well if I had done it. Some things you can't control, but I couldn't leave the club in the middle of the season in a difficult situation. Now we're close to achieving our goal of staying up, but I've made it clear that I need to take the next step. I want to fight for titles, for big things. I have potential.
So to me, Paul, and I know Chris has some thoughts on this too, so we'll jump to him after this.
Oh, we've all got thoughts.
Yeah. This is the first time that I feel like the team ramifications from Jeff Shee's little editorial before the season has finally come to light. And the reason I say that is because he talked about titles. And as you know, Jeff Shee said, if you want to compete for titles every year, Wolves isn't for you. What do you think about that?
It's right on it. I don't think it doesn't divert anything other than the strategy that's put in place. He's on the production line of one that's produced Jota going for good money, Neto, Kilman, in fact, and it's just the whole structure of the team, the self-sustainability. I'm disappointed. Obviously, he's gone down in my estimations a whole bunch. It's probably been one of the biggest heel turns probably since Jamie O'Hara. These types of players that are going to be I'm not sure hated, but definitely despised. But at the same time, you're just coming back to the fact that, well, he's only here for a small amount of time. He'll be looking at us as a stepping stone. You kind of have to take that as it is. It's the nature of the modern game. But then you look at how other players conduct themselves and carry themselves and everything like that. And so to me, it just makes me feel that it's going to be for the best. I think we've seen some stuff like maybe I remember what journalist that came from, but allegedly comments from Gary O'Neill about dealing with a difficult dressing room, and that could mean Lamina, it could mean Dawson, and now it could definitely mean Cunha if he's this main character syndrome type of guy that everything's got to revolve around him, that he can be the nicest guy to go and do charity spots and Wolves Foundation things and be front and center on the camera because it's making his brand look fantastic. But then when you get the on-field antics, it takes it down so much. I've just got a horrible feeling. Well, it's not like it's going to turn out that he's going to be making these types of statements. And what's most frustrating is that he's going to end up at a team like Forest if they make Champions League with the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White. And there's a massive potential for that. And Nuno. And there's a massive potential for that to come and bite us on the ass because selfishly, guess who should be in that place if it was down to expectations and ownership and where we should be as a team? That should be us, and we're going to be selling players to those types of teams, and at the end of the day, that's what's most frustrating.
Chris, you and I were talking this week that if an American sports president, chairman, CEO came out and said what Jeff Shee did, like the players would have been very open about it from the start, and a league commissioner would have been calling. And I felt like this is a time where you kind of see where there's a little more structure in American sports as compared to over in England, because there's no gatekeeper there to tell somebody to shut the hell up.
And I think that's right along the lines, Josh, of what Paul was just talking about to a degree, okay? I'm going to steer this a little bit. What Paul was simply saying is about Nottingham Forest, with all the runoffs, Morgan Gibbs-White, Nuno. If they sign Cunha, I think that's the number one reason Wolves will not sell Cunha to Nottingham Forest, even if they come in with a top offer, because it's such an embarrassment to what Fosun and what Shee and Gao have all done, because the last thing in Chinese business you can do is look disrespected. Look what's happened to the last couple of managers who have disrespected the ownership group. They were put on a sled and pushed the hell out. So I don't think we'll see a Matheus Cunha in a Nottingham Forest kit anytime soon, strictly because of that reason, because it'll make them look bad. Okay, moving on to what you just said. There is no chance this is happening in American sports. The chairman saying that we don't anticipate competing for championships. In American sports, you always put the optimistic value out there. Let's get into the tournament, as they would say, even in baseball, which is technically a tournament, but you say, let's get in the playoffs. Let's see what we can do. I've seen it happen with the Tampa Bay Rays ownership that is now being told to sell the club right now because of this.
Because they couldn't get a stadium. They're being literally told, you need to sell the club because you can't work this out.
Exactly. So I've seen this play out in American sports so many different times. Jeff Shee should have been pushed out on his ass a long time ago, but that statement should have literally expedited it and put him in the express lane to be fired. The fact that he's still there shows that he's their guy. Now, when it comes to Cunha, I don't argue with him making those comments. Now, under the pretenses of the questions asked, that's what you really need to be there and know and understand in the Guardian article. But at the same time, you're not in that moment. What we always ask for as fans is, and especially on the other side as a journalist, you always want to ask the fans questions to give them the most amount of knowledge possible that's attainable. But sometimes you have to work with some trepidation because you always don't want to know those answers. And Matheus was being absolutely outright about his feelings and his thoughts. You can't blame him for coming out and giving the fans exactly what they want. They wanted his thoughts on the matter. He came forward with them, and now they're like, F you, because you don't want to be a part of our club. I can understand that perspective too. But, I remember asking Nathan Judo at the Express and Star when he was having sorry about that. But, to their point, I said Wolves were so great to us. we were lucky enough in the Hall of Fame at Molineux to be able to have Nathan Jude and Liam Keane join us. And I asked him distinctly, you saw the Jekyll and Hyde reaction that has been Matheus Cunha over the last 2 years. Here's a man that we saw go out in Brazil and present meals to families that were less fortunate and do all these things. And here he is being an asshole on the pitch. So who is the real person here? Is it the brand, like Josh, you talk about, him protecting his brand? Is this a just a few move where, like, Matheus, you need to build up your brand, you need to do more things like this, being more a part of the community? Because we've seen agents and agencies do this in the past to try to build up what is basically the guy's image and brand. And so I really worry, because you look at the way he's conducted himself on the pitch with Matheus Cunha, his comments recently, and the way he has dominated the ball. The skill is obviously there. He knows he's the best player. So is he going to be like Pedro Neto and just a little prick when he scores a goal against us for the first time and gets carried away by his new teammates? That's just a slapdick move. And I don't think he will do that if he should ever score against Wolves. But I don't think Forest is the move for him. I think it's going to be another club. And I think, he's saying the right things at this time, but the fans also have to take accountability that you wanted a real answer and he provided it. And you have to figure it out on your own on that one.
Danny, you presented an interesting question about Cunha on Twitter yesterday. X, whatever.
Yeah, I was just curious, based on people's people's reaction, if they thought that it would be worse for the club if Matheus Cunha left in the summer, or if he was still here after deadline day. And it was pretty overwhelming. About 2/3 said that it would be worse if he stayed. And I think that speaks to something where, it's all become a bit too much burden on Wolves and even the fans to have a player who has to be so central to the team. I think we've seen in the last stretch of games as he's been suspended that I don't know. It just feels like the team is a bit more balanced. We definitely carry less of a goal threat. No one's questioning that. I mean, he's an incredibly talented and creative player. He can score goals out of nothing. But overall, the performances have looked more solid, if very nervous, because we don't score a ton without him. But the thing that came up to me, I don't remember if I read this somewhere or something, but I just, it feels very much like I was thinking after that red card, that what is going on here with him, because these actions are going to sabotage his own move. To Drew's comment in the chat, yes, if Forest meet the release clause, Wolves can't really stand in the way. I don't know legally how any of that is put into writing, if at all, but my understanding is pretty much if you pay the money, then you get to talk to the player. The player then has to agree. But anyway, to my previous point is just that now that there's this release clause that we feel like someone will pay, there will be a list of teams that would pay that. And some of those teams are teams that Cunha would find really desirable to go to. But some of them might be less desirable. And his actions during that game maybe make him less desirable to some of those teams that he wants to go to. And so I just was thinking, after this article came out and then his reaction to it, it feels like he's done so much this year that has felt very, very agent led. And I do wonder if his agent is saying, we need to do some damage control here. Like, you just got sent off for basically like kicking a guy, shoving him / maybe almost punching him, and then headbutting him. And then you had to get dragged off by one of your backup goalkeepers. And it really doesn't look that good, even though you are immensely talented and a huge team might not want to come in for you now. And so maybe you do an article that sort of like gives a bunch of context to why things are the way that they are at Wolves or whatever. But I really don't blame the fans for having an issue with this. You know, talking about winning trophies and winning leagues and whatever, that's fine. We all know that players are going to want to move on to a bigger team, compete for things. That's what players want to do. But to disregard the desire to fight for a trophy while you're here is sort of like a thing, a trespass that I don't think you can ever do, no matter who you
Well,
are.
the real irony there was they were playing for an FA Cup.
We were competing for a trophy. We were literally competing for a trophy when he got sent off.
The only one we had a possibility of still winning.
And like, that's the thing, is like the sort of main character that is Matheus Cunha doesn't conceptualize the idea of Wolves winning a trophy because he is bigger than Wolves. And like, again, I kind of feel fine with even that assessment. Like, maybe he is bigger than Wolves. Like, he could be a superstar with some of the skills he has, but like, don't say that to the fans. And I think that's like kind of what's implied with all of this, which is why the fans get upset. No one's saying that like he shouldn't want to move on. Like, I don't know, like Ruben Neves probably wanted to move on. Pedro Neto wanted to move on, but neither of them said, yeah, I really want to be at a place that doesn't suck. Like, I want to be at a place that's going to win a trophy, not like this place that's never going to win a trophy, partly because I got sent off during a game that would have put us in place to maybe win a trophy. You know, it's just like, it's all very tasteless. And the last thing I'll say on this is that the whole kind of like context of this is this idea that like he kept us up. I think that's part of the reason that he perhaps feels some of these things. I've certainly seen that idea, voiced online from fans that like, oh, his goals kept us up. I'm sorry, he got suspended twice in a season where we were in trouble. And during one of those stretches was like the most important games, including this coming Ipswich game. And yes, if Wolves stay up, he will be a big part of it. He'll have scored like half the goals that got us there or something. But I'll tell you what, if Ipswich catch us up and because we lose this coming weekend, we will have been relegated because of the things that he did also. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, he gets to have everything he wants because he scored a bunch of goals. That's not how being on a team has ever worked.
No Stupid Questions is brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. Located just north of Santa Barbara, California, Esfuerzo Wines showcases passion and 3 generations of winemaking in every bottle. Whether you're toasting some Vino de Vitor or winding down after a day of work, let Esfuerzo Wines transport you to the heart of wine country with each sip. Now at esfuerzowines.com, you can use the promo code VITOR, that's VITOR, at checkout to receive a 30% discount off your order. And don't forget to try the special edition 1-pack wines to show your passion and support for Wolves with each glass. This message is intended for those of legal drinking age. Do not drink and drive. Excessive alcohol consumption may be harmful to your health. If you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol abuse, please seek help. Esfuerzo Wines reminds you to enjoy their product responsibly and in moderation.
It is our favorite part of the show. It is No Stupid Questions, but to us, thanks to our friends at Esfuerzo Wines, it's your opportunity to get in touch and ask us anything you wish when it comes to our great team, Wolverhampton Wanderers. You can do this on our social channels, X, Facebook, and you can also email hello@wholelotofwolves.com. That is something what Drew Breyer has done, because his question was around who would you like to get the next contract, because we have actually had some positive and exciting news in the past few days, in that we've had a lengthy contract extension come out the blue, firstly for Yerson Mosquera, and as of today when we record now, João Gomes. So Drew asks, who would you like to get the next new contract?
Well, first, I must say that I definitely put on my João Gomes shirt as soon as I saw the news today. And I think once Cunha leaves, João Gomes is the new face of Wolves. And I think that's a good face to have. So really excited about that. Excited about Mosquera. Now, who would I like to get the next contract? Guys, I don't think they're on the roster. I really don't. because we've already given Toady one recently. Guys like Andre Strand Larson, Rigo Gomez, Agbadu, they've already gotten new contracts. So you'd have to look at guys that have been on the squad for at least a year. I don't see one. I don't see one who I'd give an extension to. I mean, what do you think, Chris?
Well, I was going to play the Agadoo song and go, Agadoo, Agadoo. But yeah, no, you're absolutely correct, Josh. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody currently on the roster. I mean, I'm hoping Pedro Lima, who.
But I didn't count the guys who we had just gotten in the transfer window.
I know. So it makes it extremely difficult. I mean, I'm hoping they turn into players, and by all accounts, they definitely have the talent to be able to do so, but it's really hard to forecast that out at this juncture.
What about you, Danny?
Yeah, I think the only real answer I can give is that if we are, I think that there's a good argument to say that like Nelson Semedo staying would help out Wolves, but I think it's like seen as almost certain that he's going to go. So that's the obvious answer. If we think we can get another couple of years out of him and meet whatever his salary requests demands are, then I think, yeah, like Todd said in the chat, a year extension for Semedo. That being said, we do have other people. We have Hugo Bueno coming back from loan where he's done pretty well. We have Pedro Lima and Rodrigo Gomez, neither of whom have been able to get like a good run of minutes recently. I hope that as we become safer and safer this season, that we might see one or both of them a bit more. And other than that, it's, there aren't a ton of players who are coming up, close to the end of their contract who we don't also expect there might be, a desire for us to sell them. So like you could say like, oh, Geddes is going to be a part of this team next year, so he should get a contract extension or a new deal or whatever.
He ain't signing no contract extension.
But that's the thing is like he's probably leaving, and the same thing is true for Hee Chan, where like he could be a part of this team, but if he's not getting minutes now, then it seems likely that he's going to move on. So I assume we don't want to give him a new contract. I guess the only sort of one of those that are coming up in the next couple of years is like Boubacar Traore, who's just come off of an injury. And so we think like, again, if Vitor Pereira sees something in him that we're going to keep a hold of, then yes. But it's really hard to say that there's anyone sitting around who now needs a new contract before we see what Wolves want to do in the market.
I think for me, it's had some parallels to that period right before free agency in the NFL, where you see some contract restructuring and getting into the salary cap X's and O's, where you can really see that they want to lock certain guys down on long contracts like Mosquera and Joe Gomez. But it's really telling that you can just know by that. I think it just tells us that Semedo's gone, that he's too old. Like quality, you can't fault him, particularly at the moment, but he's beyond, I think, that age that would warrant that extension for 2 or 3 years based on the amount that he will warrant. So I think they're putting their pieces together, knowing that they've got some funds to play with Semedo going, probably Sarabia, locking the younger guys down. And it probably talks to something Danny just mentioned, but it's also a related no stupid question that Todd in Minnesota, he emailed as well, asking, flash forward to the start of next season, and who do you think starts in that left wing back position, Reinhard Nuri or Hugo Bueno? So I think that's going to be telling that if they lock out Nuri down on a new contract extension, then he'll be the guy. If not, he's potentially one that could go for a certain big figure that really would provide the battle funds along with Cunha to reinvest and hopefully put in the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think I think Aït-Nouri's probably gone. And keep in mind, so his old club owns a 50% sell-on that can be bought out for $10 million. So, keep that in mind when you're seeing, if maybe $30 million for Rain. Well, you got to reduce $10 million off of that.
I want to bring this up really quick, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be a fly on the wall between Vitor Pereira, Matt Hobbs, and Jeff Shee when it comes to a contract extension for Hee-Chan Wang. I mean, the club has been talking for so long about going to South Korea for a preseason tour that it's something they're destined to do and really want to do. And for that Asian market, they want to have Hee-Chan Wang there. So it's definitely an enticing conversation to sit in and listen to. I don't know if he warrants the time on the pitch, but financially for Fosun's pockets, Hee-Chan Wang means money. And I could see that deal getting done.
I wouldn't be, we'll put it this way. If they don't go to Korea this summer, then Hee-Chan I would not be surprised for him to be gone
right
by the end of the transfer window. I actually still wouldn't even be surprised if they went to Korea, capitalized on it, and then sold them before the transfer window closed. Look, guys, it's like I tell this advice to everybody.
That'd be such a bad look.
but
it is Jeff Shee, though. Come on.
Yeah, look, let's be honest. And this goes with teams, for players. This goes for us personally with companies. No company or organization is loyal to players or to us as companies. You have to be always thinking about what's best for me. I hate the people that are like, well, I want to do what's best. No, the company will get rid of you if they don't want you or if they deem you, redundant. So, yeah, I think Fosun could do that. Okay, yeah, we got our money. Bye.
And that is No Stupid Questions this week, brought to you by Espresso Wines. Head over to espressowines.com. Use that coupon code VITOR, VITOR, at checkout for 30% off your order.
Chris, I've been disappointed. I haven't seen you taking a single drink. Are you?
He's still detoxing.
I am.
What's in there?
It's only water, actually. Yes, I am detoxing. Christ, my liver.
Well, I'm out of whiskey. I'm out of my celebration whiskey. So tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Yes. So one thing real quick, because we're getting South Florida Wolves started here. Okay. So if you manage to reach out to me, I have some South Florida Wolves pins that are definitely coming these gentlemen's way for our whole trip for USA Wolves that went over with us. I'll be sending them to you as well. But if you want to reach out to me at Chris Fischer _ on the X or Twitter, I will happily send you one of them. No problem at all. No charge either. Just let me know. Okay. Give me a follow. That always helps. And as long as you make sure I will be cross-referencing. You have to make sure you send in no stupid questions throughout the rest of the season with a whole lot of Wolves podcasts and have a sip of the wine sponsor because the wine is simply tasty. Trust me, I've had a lot to drink lately. So
yeah, it is. And speaking of South Florida, probably who will go there, Chris, is Teddy Ely, who lives down there in Boca Raton. Teddy Ely, he got engaged, folks. Woo! Congratulations, Mazel Tov to Teddy Ely and his wonderful now fiance.
So on that positive news, it brings this week's show to an end. That's 3 points and engagement. Lots to toast for Vita in the pub tonight and going on. So we are going to be back this time next week to review the Ipswich game and then preview the Tottenham game when they will be coming to Molineux for the Chris Fischer derby. So as always, thanks to Danny on the socials, Alex producing, you, the fine listener and internet streamer, because if it wasn't for you, this show would not exist. Things that you can do to help is give us a follow, like our content. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of those incremental little actions help grow this podcast and spread the word about this wonderful stateside pack. So this week. If anyone is questioning any type of catchability, just tell them up the mighty Wolves.